All right, the twisting general motor pattern is another one of our more complex and higher risk movements. Each of us has different ability to twist and freedom through our spine, but the reality is the twist comes all the way through the body. It starts at the ground and works its way up through the entire kinetic chain. The way that we're going to target this, we will be using the entire body, but hopefully isolating a little bit more of those core muscles, because it is the spine that does have some rotational capability. But the hips, again, the ankles, the shoulders, all of that can help us rotate in our day-to-day patterns. So the twist that we're going to work on first is a torso twist is what I call it. There's different variations of this. Let's have you use the gray band. Go ahead and grab it here. Let's face the camera first. Now, if you can't twist very safely, if you have meniscus issues or low back issues that are, fused lower spine, anything like that that doesn't allow you to twist, you can do what's called an anti-twist, which means you're just going to fight against rotation. So step toward me. So now, obviously, the further she gets away, the heavier and harder this band gets, the more she's going to have to fight rotation. This would be a great base to build up your twisting muscles without actually performing the twist and putting your joints at risk. So, from there, we're going to do our first round of twist. It's going to be a limited range of motion. I'll call it midline and away. So she's going to rotate through primarily her upper half, but she's going to let her hips turn evenly or softly and controlled back to the middle line. So she goes back to the middle and then away. That's number 2. Let's begin. We're going for 12 repetitions. Good. Back to the midline and away. Good. Try to feel that squeeze through the core the best you can, though you are going to feel it all the way from the ground up. Your feet get very involved here. Your hips move freely. As you can see, there's some turn of her hips. But I want you to squeeze a little bit through those oblique muscles. Those are the sides of your belly. 12 times to one side. And we're moving in that same smooth, controlled motor pattern. Really paying attention to good posture through the shoulders, not rounding into that reach, but standing up upright, keeping the sternum forward, squeezing through those obliques to get more of an activation. Go ahead. We'll do side B. Same thing. Turn it around. Okay. You can step back just a little bit. Right to there. Same thing. Smooth and steady. Midline and away. Good. From the back side, you can definitely see how the hip joints. The ball and socket joint of the hip helps to guide this. When you're anchored against this weight, you'll feel, and especially as you start to progress and use more resistance, you're going to feel this back hip, especially through the glute, has to work to connect that back foot to the ground more so. That front side, you're kind of leaning toward it, not technically leaning, but you're having to place your weight more in the back foot in order to drive toward that front foot during your twist. You can also see the posture of the shoulders not changing. Her arms aren't moving in place. Her shoulders are locked to the ribs and everything turns as one. 12 repetitions on each side. Then we'll move on now. We're going to go to a fuller range of motion of the twist, and I use the cues 10 to 2. So if you imagine the hands of a clock, we're not going 3 to 9, one side to the next. We're going to go with a smaller range of motion, but we are going to turn all the way back now and turn forward. So there's a light rotation of my hips, not a big rotation of the hips, but a light rotation and a bigger rotation through the torso here. Let's begin round 2, facing the camera, first round, or first side. Out and away, right to there. And I'm going to step out a little bit because you're going to be loading back a little bit more. Let's see if we get that full range of motion. Yep, 10 to 2. You can come a little bit more forward and back. So step out to me a little bit. Good. There you go. Now we got a big full turn. So there's our full range of motion, 10 to 2. I'm going to move right over here. Good. Using that core, squeezing through the belly to drive and initiate as well as finish the range of motion. So again, more mindfulness to the muscles that we're targeting. There's no denying that the arms and the shoulders are working. No denying that the lower legs, thighs, and hips are working. But I want you to feel your core here and squeeze tight through the belly, especially at the end range of motion. And at the initiation of the squeeze, we find those pulls through the primary muscles. Good. Other side, same thing. We've got 2 rounds of each here, each style. So now we're in the 10 to 2 style. The first version was a more limited range of motion. Kind of feeling it out, making sure our back is feeling healthy. Even from day to day, if you felt like, oh man, my back was stiff last night, maybe I shouldn't be doing full rotations today, that's okay. Add in that anti-rotation hold for the day. You'll still be able to fire up those muscles, get the brain to body connections working, and maybe even develop a little bit of postural strength through that positioning. You certainly get a little thermoregulation. Your heat, the body heat really increases with these torso rotations and especially in any anti-rotations or anti-motion holds, like a plank, body weight or body heat shoots up with those exercises. We're actually going to complete 3 rounds today. 3 rounds, 12 reps on, and roughly 20 to 30 seconds off. We got 1 more round, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling?
Good.
All right, let's get ready for round 3. I can show you a little trick to make this a bit harder if you're looking for a little more of a challenge. What you'll do with your rotation is at the end point, I want you to slightly lean into that hip. So leaning away from the door and into that hip, what you're technically going to do is what I was talking about a second ago. You're going to drive through that back hip and secure that lean away and rotation a little bit more. So I want you to get a little bit of a lean into it here. Final round of torso twist. Good, right out in front. Rotate and slightly lean with it. Good, just a little bit of knee flexion. Good, really feel that core guide in the side of the band that's working to twist away. Technically both sides are working, but that opposing side, the outside, feel it kind of lean and drive in, or squeeze into it as the hip of this side, of the inside, drives out and away. So you can see she's just moving off of her midline as she leans out. And then as she comes back, she's coming right back to her standing center. So light lean side to side, we increase the intensity of this twist. We got 12 repetitions for the other side. We'll finish things up here. The torso twist is no joke. It's a higher risk motion again because we're dealing with typically problematic areas through the hips and the lower back. If you're healthy through your hips and your lower back, you can probably get in and out of these rotations a little bit faster, but nevertheless, you've got to pay attention to the mindfulness. You can't have rounding or shifting through your shoulders. You got to be able to guide that rotation through the center mark here of the torso. That's going to be a lot of upper butt cheek to lower back, primarily obliques on the side, but the reality is you got your abs turned on, your lower back muscles, deep core muscles, you have your pelvic floor muscles that are working here, your hips, your thighs, everything from the shoulders, everything from the head and neck down is working in this torso twist. What rep are we on?
Last one.
Nice job.
Mm-hmm.
Good work.